Hello, hello, beautiful people. Welcome to today's episode of Movement Medicine Morsels. We're going to be looking at axial extension, another word for excellent posture, which is great on physical, emotional, energetic, every plane possible. And we're going to be looking at the three volumes of the body. I think it's a very helpful way to look at posture and also playing a little bit with suspension and rooting. So, those are two foundations of the work that I'm presenting to you. And I want to introduce you to my teaching assistant today. This is Andy. Some of you may have met Andy before. Say hi, Andy. Andy's saying hello. Anatomy nerd, what can I say? All right, I thought Andy would be very, very helpful to give you a picture of the three volumes of the body. So we have a spine that runs all the way down the center channel of the body, and we have the pelvic bowl. So I want you to picture this as a ball of energy or a sphere or one of the volumes. And then we have the rib cage, which is a lovely three-dimensional volume, as is the pelvis and all of its contents and all of its surrounding musculature and other structures. And then we have this beautiful head, which is another volume. So the three volumes of the body are the skull, the rib cage, and the pelvic basin. So now that Andy has had a chance to show you, I need both my hands. He's going to go have, he, she, they are going to go have a rest because Andy can be male or female, although technically there is a smaller pelvis. So most chances are that this is a male skeleton. But anyways, that's for another session. Okay, I'm going to move back a little bit and we're going to get in touch with our own three volumes. First, we're going to go into the general axial extension. We want to feel the rooting. So rooting through the feet, through the sit bones. So wiggle a little bit. Wiggle a little bit so you can feel your feet, lift your knees, play with your toes, feel the texture of the ground. Plant your feet, wiggle your sit bones, plant them, and rise up through the crown of the head with a sense of elongation upwards. So this is the general suspension, lifting up to the sky, as well as the general rooting, connecting to the earth. Let's open up our breath a little bit. Inhale, raising the shoulders, drinking the oxygen in through your nose. Exhale, soft sigh as you gently let the shoulders fall. Breath all the way out. Inhale, fully, smoothly, deeply, shoulders up. Exhale, let the breath fall out of you. Let the shoulders melt down. One more time. Inhale, raising the shoulders, big breath in. Exhale, relaxing, releasing down. Maintain your lovely vertical alignment. And we're going to rub our hands. We want to wake up the awareness in our hands because they are going to help us feel into the three volumes of the body. First, we're going to do a little bit of a breathing, visualization, sensing exercise. So let's place our hands on the low volume of the body, and this corresponds to Chinese medicine's idea of three dantians, three fields of energy or elixir. One is in the pelvic center, one is in the middle of the body, and one is in the head. No surprise there. It's physiological as well as energetic. So I like to place one hand in front and one behind because we're going to be inviting breath and sensing our breath and energy flowing. So as we inhale, imagine that you're filling this ball of energy, this volume, and both hands, the breath is expanding forward and back. Now this is very subtle. Close your eyes if you like and smile. And don't worry if you don't feel movement today. If you're focusing and you're sincerely trying to make the hook up here, it's all working. Let's do one more time with a smile. Imagine that whole volume waking up, filling with pulsation, filling with breath. Now I want you to imagine a helium balloon. A helium balloon, we've all held a helium balloon. If you've got a balloon on a regular string, it does this. If you have a balloon filled with helium on a string, it rises. It gently tautens the string and lifts up. So I want you to imagine that you have helium inside the volume or balloon of your chest. And just for a moment, imagine that helium lifting up. So we're starting to create a little bit more space between the pelvis, which we're keeping anchored at the moment, and the rib cage, which is lightly rising up. This will create a corresponding elongation in your skeleton and also so your vertebrae and also in your organs. Keep the shoulders relaxed. The shoulders rest on the rib cage. They don't try to rush ahead. They rest on the rib cage and the rib cage floats up. Let's take one hand to the back, could be the back of the hand, other hand to the front. And once again, let's expand here. Expand front to back, get big volume. Let's try the hands at the sides, get the volume going sideways. And do one more with your hands in whatever position you really enjoy. Nice expansiveness, nice waking up energy. And now relax. Keep that feeling of suspension of the rib cage floating up, filled with helium. And we're going to do the same now with the head. Imagine your head is blown up with helium, and that helium creates that lightness that you know, and the balloon of your head starts to rise up, creating a subtle elongation and spaciousness in your throat and neck. Feel that lightness, and let's place our hands one over the forehead or third eye and the other at the base of the skull, wherever your palms are comfortable, and staying suspended in this upper volume. Breathe in and imagine you're expanding the space, the energy within your skull, and exhaling, it's gently relaxing. You can even move your hands to the sides and imagine that energy expanding, clearing the skull, filling with good circulation. And exhale, let's release the hands down. Continue breathing smoothly, gently, deeply. You're breathing in an expanding and pulsing pelvic volume. You're breathing in an expanding, pulsing chest volume. And you're breathing in a light, suspended, expanding, pulsing head. So we've got that lightness in the chest, we've got the lightness in the head, and together this may give you a little bit more sensation of the details. Now we're going to move each volume with mindfulness. So let's place one hand front and back of the lower volume, and we're going to do cats and dogs or flexion extension in these areas. The rest of the body will come along, but we want to focus. So as we exhale, we're focusing on tipping the pelvic volume, rolling it back, and inhale, rolling it forward. If it were a ball, the ball rolls like this, and then the ball rolls like this. Just feel into rocking the pelvis, keeping the rib cage volume and the head volume light and suspended. And the focus is on the movement in the lower volume. Exhale as you roll back. Inhale as you roll forward. Excellent. Let's take a few circles, rolling the whole pelvic ball around, maybe 3 or 4 times. And do the same in the opposite direction, loosening up, getting into the spherical sensation of this volume. Okay, let's sit back up, feel that suspension of the rib cage and the skull. And now we want to move the chest. So let's bring the fingertips together in the sternum. Exhale, the sternum reaches back so you really round the upper back. Inhale, let the sternum plump forward. Exhale, sternum goes back. The elbows can come forward a bit. Inhale, sternum rocks forward, elbows go back. Once again, we're focusing on the middle volume, the chest, looking for a sensation that is prioritizing the chest, knowing that other parts of the body are going to want to come out and play, but we want to feel into this area. Okay, now let's place the hands just at the base of the ribs and do some circles just above the hands. So here we are focusing on maybe 3 or 4 rotations of just the rib cage above the waist and circle the other way. The head, of course, may want to come along and play, but it's not leading the movement. The rib cage is the prime mover. All right. Let's relax, zip up the energy. And now the skull. We want to tip the chin forward on the exhale and rock the chin up, maintaining that lightness, that upward lift in the base of the skull. Exhale, flexing at the neck. Inhale, extending the neck, keeping the suspended lightness so there's no collapsing. And then come back to center. Place your fingers, I like to use the middle fingers, just at the base of the skull behind the ears. You'll feel 2 round bones. They're the base of the skull. Andy says they want to show you. So these 2 knobs, right behind the ears, behind the jaw, you're just going to press up a little bit here. And we're going to use this as a reminder of staying very suspended and lifted in the skull as we take some gentle circles, maybe 3, maybe 4, circling in the opposite direction as well. Breathing smoothly as you do so. And now letting all of that relax, maintain your feeling of there's a lightness in the pelvis, but also a grounding. We don't want to go up to the sky yet. We want to stay connected to the ground. We want to balance, but we want the lightness in the rib cage and we want the lightness in the skull. Sit here and enjoy this. Now we're going to play with the lightness of the pelvis to help us stand up. So let's lean forward a little bit. You can have one hand in front and one behind, and shift the weight into the feet and imagine that the lightness of the pelvic volume is what lifts you. And then as you exhale, the lightness of the pelvic volume lowers you. I was just letting me know to finish in a couple minutes. Inhale, lean forward, let the lightness of the pelvis lift you, and let the lightness of the pelvis lower you. We're going to do it one more time, feeling this different. There are so many different qualities and ways of initiating movement. And I think it's lovely to get a variety because there may be one that really makes light bulbs go off inside you, or it's also like getting a good variety in your diet. You want to have a good variety of movement options. Sometimes we want to push with the legs, sometimes we want to float. So remember that the rib cage and the head are also light. So rocking forward, let all of that lift you up and come to standing and root your feet. And we're going to do an arm movement, inhaling, sweeping the arms out. This will help you lift and lighten the rib cage, but also lighten through the skull. And exhale, lower the arms. Inhale like a big bird, reaching out, lifting up, lengthen the neck by lightening the skull. And now we're going to bend the knees and really lower. So we're letting the weights sink and then we're letting the weights rise. So imagine that the pelvis starts to sink like a stone and it becomes light, lifting you up. Everything sinks but not collapsing. There's a nice sense of weight and everything lifts up. Now let's play with putting a few of these things together. We're going to let the pelvic volume sink as we rise up. So there's a lovely pull between suspension and rooting. And as we exhale, the pelvis, rib cage, and skull float up, straightening the legs. Inhale, the pelvic weight gets a little heavier and the legs bend. And now the pelvis and the rib cage and the skull lighten. So there's a bit more of a floating, etheric sense of moving like this. Okay. Now we're going to let the suspension take over. We're going to shift the weight towards the balls of the feet and start to feel that the lightness in the pelvis, rib cage, head, and even fingers takes over. And now let the heels sink to the floor. Try to stay light and zipped up. Inhale, shift the weight. Let the pelvis, rib cage, and head rise. So you're not really using muscularity in the feet. You're not pushing with the feet to go up and down. Rather, you're thinking about the lightness in the pelvis floating you up. And then the heels are gently pulling you down. It's like that helium balloon. The heels are the little tug on the string. One more time, inhaling, and just be light. Feel the lightness in your pelvis, the lightness in your rib cage, the lightness in your head. Maybe walk around a little bit on the balls of your feet. It's so easy when you're using the suspension. And now exhale, lower the heels, lower the arms, and bend the knees, bringing the backs of the fingers together. Inhale, lifting up through the lightness and opening up to the sky. Exhale, bringing the arms and crossing them and curling into a little ball, letting the rooting take over. Backs of the hands together. Inhale, let the breath and the lightness raise you up. Exhale, folding the arms, let the weight and the support, stability draw you downwards. One more time. Inhale, rising up with the lightness. And exhale, bringing the palms together. Stay light and lifted in your 3 volumes. And let the hands gently, gently come to prayer position. Let the contact of your thumbs against your chest remind you of that helium lightness in the middle volume. Remind yourself that there's lightness in the skull, so there's a elongation of the throat in the center channel. And there's a lightness in the pelvis, but there's also, we want that balanced connection to the earth. And one more time for showering chi. Exhale and cup the hands, holding a ball of energy in front of this ball of energy. Take an inhalation, filling all the balls of energy. Fill them with light. Exhale, you slightly sink the knees. You're feeling more of the earth energy. As you inhale, the lightness of the pelvis, ribs, and head are lifting you up, hands to shoulder height. Exhale, the elbows soften, palms turn out, and there's a little bit more of the earthy energy. Inhale, the lightness rising up. You're embracing the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, long neck. And as you exhale, you're showering yourself with this beautiful lightness, maintaining the lift, the suspension of skull, rib cage, pelvis. And we'll do that one more time. Exhaling, let the earth energy take over, but there's still the contrasting lightness. Both energies are balanced, but sometimes one talks and the other listens. Inhale, now the lightness is talking. The earth keeps you supported. Exhale, the earth is having a few words here. Inhale, the sky, the lightness is lifting you up, but you're very balanced. Take an extra breath or two here. This is the best of the earth's stability and the lightness of the sky. And wait for an exhalation and pour that beautiful, beautiful sensation, the light, the energy, pouring it all the way through your body, connecting it to the earth, and then stepping the feet together, folding one hand over the other. Feel the suspension energy of the pelvis, ribs, and skull, but the complementary rooting energy of your legs and feet. Soft smile, bamboo waving in the wind. Feel that lightness and also feel the roots from your feet deep into the earth. So you're supple, you can move. There's nothing compressed about you. There's nothing braced or brittle. You can move with whatever forces come your way, and you stay centered in your rooting and also in your lightness. The breeze gently settles down. You come to finish. Maintain your awareness of the lightness of the three volumes of the body, what that means for your connection to the sky and your beautiful vertical alignment and posture. And at the same time, you're aware of the stability that you receive from your contact and your relationship to the earth. Soft smile and let the breath really flow in the lower volume, in the first dantian. Breathe into the front and back of the pelvic volume, into the right and the left side, and also into the waistline and pelvic floor. Notice how you feel. Notice if you sense a different quality in your movement. We've been working with some esoteric qualities today, applying them to the body, but a little bit more about energy. See if you like it. And whatever benefits you've received, take them with you as you take your next movements into the day, whether it's work, play, sleep, cooking, whatever it is. And remind yourself to stay light in the pelvis, in the rib volume, and in the skull volume, whether you're lowering the body, lifting the body, moving in different ways. And let me know how you liked this session. And please tell your friends, share widely. My deepest joy would be to help everyone feel light and free in their body and breath. It's so important, especially under COVID times when so much of the ground below our feet is very shaky. We don't know what's going on. Knowing how to stabilize our bodies, our breath, and also lift our spirits and our posture is beautiful medicine. Thank you for your time, your attention, your beautiful presence, and we'll see you next time.